Zuwena stared at the note, feeling a chill run down her spine. She had seen the sharp glances from Nyasha and Tamara, and she knew trouble was brewing. Hello, my wonderful friends. I am Amina, and this is my wise and beloved companion, Nia Tembo. Together, we bring you the magic of Africa's most beautiful folktales, filled with wisdom, adventure, and heart. If you love these stories and want to see more, please take a moment to subscribe. It's completely free, but it helps us more than you know. And for those who carry the spirit of Africa in their hearts, be sure to check out our gift shop below, filled with treasures for travellers, storytellers, and lovers of African culture. Now, stay with us until the very end, because Nia Tembo has some powerful words of wisdom you won't want to miss. In the heart of the bustling city of Tamangwe, where the sun kissed the golden rooftops and the streets hummed with the voices of traders, lived Mama Kesia, a woman of great wisdom. She was the widow of a powerful merchant and had built a legacy alongside her late husband. But despite all her wealth, one thing troubled her. Her son, Jabali, had returned from abroad, and she feared he would fall prey to a woman who only loved his riches. Mama Kesia had seen the kind of women who hovered around powerful men, beautiful but empty-hearted, deceitful and cunning. She wanted something more for her son, and so she devised a plan, one so outrageous that only a mother's love could justify it. She would disguise herself as a simple food vendor at Jabali's company, selling fried plantains and groundnut stew in the employee canteen. She would watch, she would listen, and, most importantly, she would test the hearts of those who came near her son. She prepared herself for the task ahead, knowing that she would need patience and wisdom to see the truth. She was determined to find a woman who could love her son for who he truly was, not for his wealth. She knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was ready. The next morning, before the city stirred fully awake, Mama Kesia wrapped herself in an old, faded wrapper, slipped on worn-out sandals, and tied a tattered scarf around her head. Instead of entering Jabali's company as the owner's mother, she stepped in as an unknown food vendor, her pots clanking against each other as she pushed her cart. The employees barely noticed her as they strutted past in expensive shoes, their perfume heavy in the air. But a few cast sneers her way. Ah, what is that smell? Nyasha, the company's most glamorous worker, scrunched up her nose as she passed by. Why is this old woman even allowed here? Her friend Tamara laughed. I think she lost her way back to the village. Look at those hands, rough like she wrestles goats. Mama Kesia said nothing, only offering a small, knowing smile as she ladled stew into a bowl. But she noticed something. A young woman in the corner who said nothing. She merely watched with quiet curiosity, her gaze kind yet guarded. Her name was Zuwena. Unlike the other women, Zuwena did not wear excessive makeup or flashy jewellery. She focused on her work, her eyes betraying intelligence and kindness. Mama Kesia made a mental note to observe her closely. Could she be the one? Days passed and Mama Kesia observed. Each morning, she sold food in the canteen, carefully noting the behaviours of the women who came and went. One afternoon, as she was cleaning a spill, Nyasha deliberately kicked over a bowl of stew onto the floor, splashing hot liquid onto Mama Kesia's feet. The room filled with laughter. Oops, my foot slipped, Nyasha said, feigning innocence. Mama Kesia winced, but before she could move, Zuwena was by her side, kneeling down to clean the mess. Are you hurt, Mama? Zuwena asked, her voice full of concern. Mama Kesia's heart swelled. She had found someone worth watching. But she had to be sure. Nyasha scoffed and tossed her hair. Why are you wasting your time on an old woman? She's just a vendor. Zuwena ignored her. "Mama, let me help you up," she said, offering her hand. Mama Kesia took it, smiling inwardly. This girl had a good heart. Nyasha and Tamara were not happy. "Why is Zuwena suddenly so close to the old vendor?" Tamara sneered, crossing her arms as she peered at Zuwena from the other side of the canteen. "She's pretending," Nyasha hissed, stirring her tea aggressively, acting like she's kind so she can look good. But I know how to deal with her. That night, Zuwena returned home exhausted, her feet aching from a long day at work. Just as she was about to settle down, she noticed an envelope slid under her door. Frowning, she bent down and picked it up, her heart pounding as she unfolded the single sheet of paper inside. The message was simple, yet chilling. "Stay away from the vendor, or you will regret it." Zuwena stared at the note, feeling a chill run down her spine. She had seen the sharp glances from Nyasha and Tamara, and she knew trouble was brewing. They had been whispering behind her back, throwing smug smiles in her direction. But she was not one to be easily scared. She clenched her fists, whispering to herself, "I will not let them break me." The following morning, she walked into the office, her head held high. If they thought they could intimidate her, they were wrong. But as she passed Nyasha's desk, she caught the woman's smug expression, a slow, knowing smirk that sent a ripple of unease down Zuwena's spine. She knew this was only the beginning. That evening, just as the sky began to turn shades of burnt orange, Mama Kesia invited Zuwena to her humble home for dinner. The young woman hesitated at first, unsure of why an old vendor would want to share a meal with her. But something in Mama Kesia's warm smile reassured her, and she agreed. As she arrived at the small but well-kept house, she was shocked. She had expected a cramped, struggling home, but instead she found a neat courtyard, adorned with carefully arranged potted plants. The walls were clean, the furniture modest but elegant, and the scent of freshly cooked food filled the air. "Mama, this place is beautiful," Zuwena said, eyeing the well-decorated walls and the polished wooden table where 2 steaming plates of food had been set. Mama Kesia only smiled. A home is not measured by its wealth, but by the kindness that fills it. They sat down to eat, and Mama Kesia's heart confirmed what she already knew. Zuwena was different. She ate slowly, savouring every bite, and did not once comment on the simplicity of the meal. Instead, she asked about the ingredients, the spices, and where Mama Kesia had learned to cook. "Mama, why do you work so hard selling food when you are so wise?" Zuwena finally asked, curiosity flickering in her eyes. Mama Kesia smiled, stirring her tea thoughtfully. "Because sometimes, my daughter, true wealth is hidden where no one expects to find it." Zuwena thought about this, chewing over the words as much as the food. At that moment, she knew she had chosen wisely. Outside, in the deepening twilight, a shadow lingered near the fence, watching, waiting. Nyasha was far from finished. The morning sun cast a golden hue over the city of Tamangwe as the office of Jabali Enterprises buzzed with excitement. A major announcement had been made. Jabali, the heir to the empire, had finally returned from abroad. The women in the office, especially Nyasha and Tamara, were beside themselves with anticipation. "This is our chance," Nyasha whispered, adjusting her sleek dress and touching up her lipstick. "He won't be able to resist me." Tamara smirked. "He's been away too long. He won't know how things work here. That means we have the upper hand." Meanwhile, Zuwena remained at her desk, completely unbothered. She had heard the gossip, but was more focused on finishing her report. Unlike the others, she wasn't interested in scheming for a rich husband. She believed in earning her success. Just then, the office doors swung open. The sound of polished shoes striking the floor made heads turn. Jabali had arrived. He was tall, with a sharp gaze and the air of someone who was used to commanding attention. His tailored suit fit perfectly, emphasizing his powerful presence. Women adjusted their postures, forcing their best smiles as he walked in. But Jabali barely noticed. Instead, his eyes wandered to a different sight, an old food vendor cleaning a nearby table. "Excuse me, Mama," Jabali said, his voice deep yet gentle. "Why are you cleaning tables? Isn't there janitorial staff for this?" Before Mama Kesia could respond, Nyasha quickly inserted herself. "Oh, sir, don't mind her," she purred. "She's just the food vendor. You don't have to waste your time." Jabali frowned. "Just a vendor? That doesn't mean she shouldn't be treated with respect." A heavy silence followed. The women exchanged nervous glances. Nyasha forced a laugh. "Of course. We all respect her. We were just saying..." But Jabali had already shifted his attention. His gaze landed on Zuwena, who had been quietly watching the exchange. Their eyes met, and something unspoken passed between them. For the first time that day, Jabali was intrigued. The next day at the office, tension hung in the air like a storm about to break. The news of Jabali's return had spread like wildfire, and whispers about who would catch his eye filled the break room. Nyasha was determined to be the one. She strutted into the office wearing a tight-fitting dress, her heels clicking confidently against the marble floor. Her makeup was flawless, her perfume heavy, a clear statement of her intentions. Meanwhile, Zuwena continued working diligently, ignoring the chaos around her. But she couldn't shake the memory of Jabali's piercing gaze when their eyes met the previous day. Why had he looked at her that way? Mama Kesia, disguised as the vendor, observed everything quietly. She could see Nyasha's manipulative ways, her hunger for power, and how she looked at Jabali as a prize to be won. But what pleased her most was Zuwena's lack of interest in the competition. "Did you see the way he looked at her?" Tamara whispered to Nyasha. "That plain girl? She has no chance." Nyasha smirked. "I'll make sure of it." At lunch, Nyasha made her move. She walked confidently up to Jabali, flipping her hair. "Sir, I'd love to personally welcome you back. Perhaps over dinner?" Jabali smiled politely. "Thank you, but I'm quite busy." Before Nyasha could protest, his eyes drifted past her, to Zuwena. Nyasha clenched her fists. She was losing. She needed a new plan. And this time, she wouldn't play fair. The tension in the office had reached its peak. Rumours were flying, alliances were shifting, and Nyasha's jealousy had reached dangerous levels. She could feel Jabali slipping through her fingers, his attention seemingly drawn to Zuwena, the one woman who had never tried to impress him. This enraged her beyond words. She had spent years perfecting her act, being the most desirable, the most elegant, the most cunning. And now, a mere office worker was standing in her way? Nyasha knew she had to act fast. That evening, she put her final plan into motion. She fabricated an email, making it appear as if Zuwena had been leaking confidential company information to a competitor. She sent it anonymously to the board, ensuring that Zuwena would be immediately called in for questioning. The next morning, security stormed Zuwena's desk. "You are under investigation for corporate espionage," one of them said sternly. Gasps erupted around the office. Nyasha smirked from her seat, satisfied. But she had underestimated one thing. Mama Kesia. Before Zuwena could protest, Mama Kesia stood up from her vendor's cart, pulling off her headscarf. The entire room fell into stunned silence as she revealed her true identity. "Stop this madness!" she commanded, her voice echoing through the office. "I have seen deception at its finest, and today it ends." Jabali stood next to her, his face cold with realization. "Mother, you knew." "I have known from the very beginning," she said. She turned to Zuwena. This young woman is the only one in this office with a heart pure enough to see beyond riches. And that is why she is the only one fit to stand beside you. The board reviewed the evidence. Within minutes, IT confirmed the email had been forged. Nyasha's last, desperate move had backfired. Security turned to her, and she was escorted out in disgrace, her schemes finally catching up with her. Zuwena, still in shock, looked up at Jabali. I never expected any of this. He smiled. Neither did I. But maybe it was always meant to be. Mama Kesia watched them with a knowing smile. Her test was over, and her son had found the right woman. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for staying with us until now. Truly, it means everything. Your support, just by subscribing, liking, and sharing, keeps these precious African stories alive. It gives Nia Tembo and me the chance to keep pouring our hearts into every word we share with you. So, if you haven't already, please tap that subscribe button and leave us a little note in the comments. Hearing from you fills our spirits with so much joy. And now, my dear friend, stay close, because Nia Tembo has something truly special to share. Her words of wisdom might just be exactly what your heart needs today.
My dear ones, wisdom is not in the loudest voice, nor in the strongest hand. It is in the heart that listens, in the mind that sees beyond the surface. A true test of character is not in what you say, but in what you do when no one is watching. Patience, kindness, and humility will always reveal the truth. Just as the river carves its path through the strongest rock, so too does wisdom prevail over deception. Trust in what is right, even when the world tempts you otherwise. For in the end, truth, love, and integrity will always lead you home.